Not quite the season the Bengals were hoping for. A 9-8 record, but winning 5 straight to finish strong. Joe Burrow with the best individual season of his young career. But looking ahead to next year, who will he be throwing the football to? Jamar Chase and T. Higgins form arguably the best receiver duo in the NFL. But with both looking for big contracts, it may be hard for Cincinnati to keep them together. Here's Ben Baby with a closer look at one of the NFL's biggest offseason storylines.
What is the cost of retaining greatness? That's what the Cincinnati Bengals have to answer this offseason regarding Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, 2-star receivers looking for new deals. Of course, this isn't the first rodeo for either player. Chase missed all of last year's training camp with a hold-in, while Higgins was left playing on the franchise tag. But if anyone knows what Chase and Higgins are worth, it's their quarterback. Joe Burrow said he doesn't want to envision a world where he's not playing with Chase, and that was before his old LSU teammate won the Triple Crown as the main target for the Bengals' #1 ranked passing attack. As for Higgins, Burrow has been adamant about what team means to Cincinnati.
You just can't let him get out of the building. He's a one-of-a-kind person, one-of-a-kind player, and is an integral part of what we do around here.
Call it hope, call it optimism, or call it foolish, even if Chase and Higgins now have the same agent, because bringing back Jamar and T will not be cheap. But if that cost to keep one of the NFL's great trios is Cincinnati's best shot of winning its first Lombardi trophy, that price will be more than worth it.
Ben Baby reporting. All right, for more on the Bengals offseason, we bring in NFL reporter Jeff Darlington. Jeff, how are the Bengals approaching their wide receiver situation this offseason?
Well, Jay, I like the word that Ben used in that piece, which was hope. They have optimism and hope that they can still make this work with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but realistically, it is going to be very difficult. We'll give you some timeline right now. March 4th is basically the deadline that the team has to decide whether to place the franchise tag on T. Higgins for the second straight year. Now, I would expect them to do that for the time being. It allows them to then negotiate the long-term deal until the July 15th deadline for those deals to get done. So the franchise tag would pay him $26 million for this coming season, which is a competitive rate for T. Higgins services. That said, Higgins obviously still wanting the long-term deal here. A tag and trade is still a possibility. There are all sorts of options still on the table. But I will say this, the one reason for optimism is the fact that Higgins, Chase, and Burrow do want this to happen. That's not always the case when you've got a wide receiver like Higgins on the doorstep of free agency. The fact that they want it to happen is obviously a help. Actually making that a reality, though, is still something that is a bit of a challenge for the Bengals and this crew. Yeah, challenge. Good word. Jeff Darlington, we appreciate you. Let's go over to Hannah with more.
You know who else really wants it to happen, besides Sam Acho, who's sitting here? That would be Joe Burrow. He's been so vocal about keeping the band together. So I'm going to ask you the toughest question of all. Okay. Higgins, Chase, Hendrickson, rank them in order of priority for the Bengals.
So the number one priority has to be Jamar Chase. And the reason why is because of your quarterback. I played outside linebacker. I'm a defensive-minded guy. But also you have to understand that you need to keep Joe Burrow happy. And so number one, get Jamar Chase re-signed. I think that's the biggest deal. Get him a long-term contract. Have him reestablish the wide receiver market because he won the Triple Crown. Number two, it's got to be defense, and it's got to be Trey Hendrickson. The reason why is this. Joe Burrow put up career numbers last year, and this team still struggled, right? The defense was the weak point. So if you could have that defense be strong with Trey Hendrickson and then finally fill some pieces in the draft or free agency, you'll be able to have that priority set. And then last but not least, T. Higgins is still a priority. But if you get T and Jamar with no Trey Hendrickson, a guy who was 35 sacks the last 2 years, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Burrow puts up these career-high numbers in yards and touchdowns, but not only is their defense one of the worst in the NFL, they get off to another slow start again, which has just been their Achilles heel. So big picture, when you look at team building here, right, because it's not just free agency, it's draft and everything else, what is it going to take to get Joe Burrow another taste of that Super Bowl?
Well, it's going to take the guys not named Joe Burrow. It's going to take the defensive side of the ball. So what the Cincinnati Bengals did, they have a new defensive coordinator, Al Golden. He came from Notre Dame. They're one of the best defenses in all of college football. And so that coordinator needs to come in and not only bring in a new, fresh mindset, but bring in some fresh pieces. When first-round pick, 17 overall, I would argue go get a defensive tackle. Second-round pick, lean on the defensive side of the ball as well. And so for me, you have to have this resurgence of a defensive prowess. The Cincinnati Bengals team has an opportunity with the offense that is outstanding to be able to have a playoff caliber, a Super Bowl caliber team, but it's got to be led by the defense. We saw last year the Green Bay Packers brought in Jeff Hafley from college, a top 10 defense. Maybe that same college NFL defense could be a priority.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sam, for pointing out that they stole our defensive coordinator, Al Golden. Still trying to get over that, but we wish him well. Good luck, Al. Sam, we'll see you back in a bit. Jay. Road to the draft. Let's take a look at the latest edition of Matt Miller's top prospects. He still has Abdul Carter as his number one prospect, followed by Heisman winner Travis Hunter. Michigan teammates Will Johnson and Mason Graham come in at 3 and 4. We also see a pair of Longhorns, Kelvin Banks Jr. at 8 and Jahdae Barron at 10. And he also has Heisman runner-up Ashton Genty at number 6. So that's a preview of Matt Miller's top 50 prospects piece. We bring in NFL draft analyst Jordan Reed to break it down for it. And let's start with Genty. Jordan, Matt has him ranked at 6. Next highest running back isn't until 37. In your mind, what separates Genty so far from the rest?
Well, Hannah, Valentine's Day was a week ago, but when we're talking about love, there's plenty to love about Ashton Genty. I think he's clearing away the best running back prospect in this year's draft class. And let's just take into account the yards after contact. He had over 2,000 yards rushing, and then just the breakaway speed with Ashton Genty. It would not surprise me if he goes as high as the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6 overall, and then you look at the Dallas Cowboys at 12, or even the Denver Broncos at number 20 overall.
Of course, we know the Raiders are one of those teams that needs a quarterback. Interestingly, Matt doesn't have any quarterbacks in his top 10. He has Cam Ward at 13, Shedeur Sanders at 22. And a reminder, this isn't draft order. This is just based on talent and potential as pros. So I'm wondering, with that in mind, would you rank Ward ahead of Sanders at this point?
Yes, I do. I agree with Matt. I believe Cam Ward is the best quarterback in this year's draft class. And that is because the physical ceiling that he has. And that's where I believe he really separates himself from Shedeur Sanders. Yes, Shedeur is a better thrower from the pocket and he's more polished right now. But if we just take into account everything from the pocket and then also the ability to create outside of it, that's where I believe Cam Ward differentiates himself. And what I love the most about Cam Ward is that everywhere he's been, whether it's Incarnate Word, Washington State, and most recently at Miami, he's had a profound impact, and I believe he can do that on the next level.
Absolutely elevated that program in Miami. All right, let's go to two-way player Travis Hunter. He's so fascinating. He's ranked number 2 on the list. Do you think his prospects change if he's listed solely as a defensive back as he is at the Combine?
Well, you see my face light up when I get to talk about Travis Hunter, just because I believe this guy is so rare as a prospect. It's very rare that we see a player not only play on one side of the ball, but also go over and transition to the other side and play as a full-time player. Averaged over 125 snaps a game. And when you take into account the players that have done that in years past, I think of Champ Bailey when he was coming out of Georgia in the late 90s, Charles Woodson also, and even Chris Gamble when he was at Ohio State. But what we see with Travis Hunter is I believe he's a defensive back on the next level that can sprinkle in some a little bit as a wide receiver, but where his bread is buttered is as a defensive back, and I think he could be a game changer on the next level on both sides of the ball.
Oh, I'm here for it. I think everybody wants to see that, him included. Jordan Reed, your next mock draft comes out in a week and a half. Looking forward to it. Thanks, my friend.
All right, Hannah, Sam Acho back with us. Sticking with Travis Hunter, because when Jordan was talking, I was watching you. You're smiling. And you were nodding your head when Jordan was talking about Travis. How would you rank Travis if he specialized in one position?
I'd have him at, well, it depends on what position, right? If you specialize him as a corner, he's the #1 overall prospect. I mean, here's the thing about Travis Hunter. You heard Jordan Reed say that he's a rare talent. I'd argue a generational talent. So regardless of where he's at, he's the best player in this year's draft. Now, I believe he should be primarily a cornerback, but also he should have packages at wide receiver. And the reason why is this. Think about the teams that have the top couple overall picks. Tennessee, they need help at wide receiver as well. So do the Cleveland Browns. So when you get a player of the caliber of Travis Hunter, who not only played wide receiver, but won the Biletnikoff Award, meaning he was the best wide receiver in college football, but he's a generational talent defensive back, a game-changing DB. For me, it's easy to have Travis Hunter as a #1 player.
Yeah, maximize the talent that young man has. All right, defensive end Abdul Carter seems to be creeping up lots of mock boards. He's at the top of Matt Miller's board. Where do you have Carter?
I'd have him at #2. I have Abdul Carter second on my board. And the reason why is Abdul Carter not only is a game changer in game record, but that's where we're seeing the NFL go. The reason the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl is because of their pass rush. I played for Vic Fangio. I reached out to him after the game. He said, hey, we won first contact, meaning when the first 3 seconds of the down happened, the pass rush was winning. And that's what Abdul Carter does. In the first 2 to 3 seconds of the down, he wins, whether it's with his speed, his quickness, his get off, or his acceleration. I think he's an unbelievable player as well. So I have him #2 behind Travis Hunter.
Should be interesting. Sam Acho, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
Boy, wouldn't that be great for the Giants if Ward was still on the board there at #3, given what we just heard? All right, we broke down the Bengals. How about the rest of the North? Jeff Darlington is back. He moves ahead for the Browns, the Ravens, the Steelers.
In Pittsburgh, they are still uncertain with questions at quarterback front and center. So we welcome back Jeff Darlington and Sam Acho, who hit on the Bengals earlier. So, guys, let's go through the rest of the AFC North, starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jeff, what can you